Mabibi na mabwana, assalamu alaikum. Mimi ni Lolani Kalu. Mimi ni Somali poet. Na kabla sijawafahamisha kwa nini mimi ni Somali poet, ningependa kuwa introduce kwa panel yangu ya leo, ambapo tuko hapa mbele yenu kudiscuss about the mystery na identity ya Somali, ili tujue identity yetu na wapi tumetoka na wapi tunaenda. Kwa hivyo mbele yangu hapa nitaanza na huyu bwana, atasema tu jina kidogo.
Kwa majina naitwa Guled Mohamed, mwandishi wa habari.
Yeye hakusema vizuri, lakini ni Mluo yeye, ametoka Migori. Nadhani nyote mnafikiria kwamba ni Msomali. Ni Mluo na pasiri ukimgusa kidogo atasema Kijaluo kingi sana mbali na Kisomali. Kando yake nina mgeni ambaye Kiswahili chake ni kidogo sana, lakini atawaeleza ni nani.
Hello everyone, my name is Carolyn Monte and I work in the UNESCO Regional Office for Eastern Africa, which covers Somalia and Kenya, among other 13 countries, and I'm in charge of our culture program.
Asante sana. Alafu sasa wa mwisho katika panel yangu ya leo ni mshairi Mgiriama, Giriama poet. Naye atawajulisha jina lake, alafu ndio tutaendelea.
Naitwa Ina Osguru, Abdirashid Ina Osguru.
Haya basi, kabla hatujaendelea sana na discussion, tuna presentation kidogo ambayo tungependa kuwafahamisha ili tujue tumetoka wapi. Lakini kabla ya hapo nimewaambia kwamba mimi ni Somali poet. Silo hale hudia sughar wala ghaburta sifa wala khurta sana wala hukora sakamit wala ghubada yusagher wala ghala sinki kale wahalaha ahe semeni ahe sinki kale wahalaha sinki kale wahalaha. Nadhani tunaifurahia mila yetu na utamaduni wetu, na wengi hawatujui tumetoka wapi. Nitaanza na mimi mwenyewe. Mimi nimetoka mahali kunaitwa Gonda. Gonda ni upande wa Ethiopia huko zamani. Katika vitabu vyetu vya historia ambazo ndio maana watu wengi hawajui watu wametoka wapi, wanajua kwamba Mgiriama ametoka Shungwaya na Wamijikenda kuendelea chini. Lakini kabla ya Shungwaya, mimi kama Mgiriama ndio nimesema ni Somali poet. Niliishi na Msomali. Wasomali walitupokea tulipotoka Gonda, na wimbo wetu mkubwa wa Wagiriama unaitwa Gonda. Sasa tuko hapa kuwaeleza kwamba tuna mengi ya kujivunia ambayo yanashikana Msomali na Mmijikenda na Mmijikenda na Msomali. Sisi ndio tuliotoa watu wanaoitwa Wabajuni kutokana na Mgiriama na Msomali. Alafu tuliwakuta Wasomali, historia hiyo mtaipata na Abdul Rashid baadaye kidogo kwamba tumetoka wapi, alafu ndio tutainteract kuuliza maswali kwa paneli yetu. Kwa hivyo kwanza tungependa kumkaribisha Kusugro kwanza kidogo, manake presentation yetu ndio wataalamu wanashughulikia. So we are going to start with Kusugro, atupatie historia ya kwa nini sisi watu wengi hawatuelewi. Tumepoteza identity zetu, na ndio maana kila mahali ukipita hivi unaambiwa kuja hapa wewe Msomali, lakini uko kwa nchi yako na hii ni nchi yako kabisa, ambapo ni kwamba watu wengi tu hawajui umetoka wapi na unaelekea wapi. Ndio maana hiyo identity haipo. Lakini hiyo ni kwa sababu hatuwezi kuizungumzia ila kwa kusema sote kama wa Afrika kuna watu ambao waliandika historia yetu. Hatukudocument sana historia yetu, ndio maana kuna hizi shida ambazo ziko. Lakini kabla sijamkaribisha Host Grow, ningekwenda kuambia kwamba kwa wale ambao wanaelewa Kiingereza kidogo, ni kwamba hao ambao wameharibu historia yetu, kwamba hatujui identity zetu vizuri, tunaweza kusema kwamba they came in as explorers, missionaries and traders. They brought in education and healing stations, but they brought down your kingdoms, killing away, fading away your cultures. They sold your ivory, taking you in for slavery. They began colonizing, fighting for your dominance. They gave you guns in the bondage, killing yourselves in the struggle. Africa, we need revolution. What we need is identity. Africa, we need identity. What we need is liberation. You fought for your rights to guard your resources. You fought to guard your homeland, but they gave you the system, the law and the governance. They began colonizing the minds of your leaders, fighting for dependence. So we are still in the bondage, killing ourselves in the civil war. We need Africa, we need identity. Hilo ndilo swala ambalo tumekuja kuzungumzia. Our identity, tumetoka wapi? Namkaribisha mshairi Mgiriama.
Salamu alaikum. Ningeongea Kisomali ya Garissa, moja ya Bula 15. But I understand most people here will not understand it the way I want. And Somalis, who are we and where do we come from? Mostly what happens is when we have this thing we call Abtir Sasho. And most of the time, every Somali clan has to cross the ocean, which you, from the name, you can see it looks like something created later. You know the idea of the Cushitic idea, we had a religion before Islam where the blood was important. So closer you are to the Prophet, the Qab, closer you are to God, it was perceived. So we used the same formula with Islam, and we ended up thinking that we came from another place. Here we will have a narrative now, and after some times they are still preparing. People were too. Every community in the world has a myth, and by the way, myth is more important than history, than truth. It is more important than truth. Myth is what makes nations. We buried our myth and ended up taking on another myth that is not ours. In the Somali myth, we have what we call people were two. Gala and Gale. Gala and Gale. Ki gala laha iya ki and gal wa gil. That name became Gal. Up to now, the Gal is used for something like Harub Gal. And initially, up to now, the Rendinle, the Gabra they call the camel, they call Gal. People were two, Gala and Gale. Then our myth starts from there. The one with the camel and the one with no camel. That is the myth that explains how the Gabra, who were Gale, those with the camel, now speak and are now speaking Borana. So, and our origin is like Turkana. We are the only people who have a specific name for Lake Turkana. The Turkanas just came the other day, I think like 700 years ago. We are talking about 4,000 years ago, like Somalis. That is when we were Gala and Gale. Now we have the Gabra call it Galamboy. The Gabra call Lake Turkana Galamboy. The Rendille call it Galambay. And in Somali, Bai, Bay, Boy, all mean one thing. They mean green, gray, I mean. The color gray. When you look at Lake Turkana from far, waxaad u malayni dambas biyo lagu firdhi. That's the color. That is the color of now gray. So, and I think the thing is ready. We'll be watching. Unless the narrative, we can watch together if it's ready.
Making and the unmaking of the Kenya-Somali identity. The Somali people, who and where? The Somali are a Cushitic ethnic group inhabiting the Horn of Africa. Although they may differ in nuances of local lifestyle, dictated by who colonized them or are their neighbors, Somalis are a single, homogeneous ethnic group that share a language, religion, and culture, and trace their heritage to a common ancestor. The overwhelming majority of Somalis speak Somali, a language which is part of the Cushitic branch of the so-called Afro-Asiatic family. Ethnic Somalis number are around 25 to 30 million and are chiefly concentrated in the 4 countries of the Horn of Africa: Somalia, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Kenya. The name Somali comes from the 2 words Somal, which means meat dependent. So in Somali means meat, mal, milking, or in this context, depending on meat as a source of livelihood. Somal was apparently the most dominant of the 3 groups of Somalis in the ancient time, each named after the walk of life its members practiced, namely Somal, the meat-dependent pastoralists, Biamal, the crop-dependent farmers, and Tumal, skill-dependent crafters. The Somalis in Kenya. Somalis were in Kenya before Kenya became Kenya. Contrary to what many people believe, the present-day Kenya was the Somalis' land of origin. Galan Bay or Galan Boy, that is Lake Turkana, is where the forgotten Cushitic myths point to be the ancestral land of the Cushitic people. To explain that, we shall propound a abridged version of myths talking about the origin of the Cushitic people and their pre-Islamic culture and history. Myth 1. The Gala and Gale myth. Long, long ago, in the eastern, Bari side of the Galan Bay, Lake Turkana, in Wakoi, the land of Wak, lived 2 groups of people. The 2 groups were Gale, those who kept camels, and Gala, those who did not keep camels. Gale and Gala spoke the same language and shared a common origin. They were the direct descendants of Yahabur, a generation of gigantic monsters who were the first bipeds Wak, the Cushitic sky god, had created. Although they are blood relatives and spoke the same language, they constantly fought over pasture, land, and water points. Gala, the camelless group, kept kettles, and camel keepers and kettle keepers aren't, for the most part, the best of friends and neighbors. Ask any pastoralist. The bovines at any given time pile around with too many blood-sucking insects that camels and camel people cannot stand. Then one Yurukudle, a dry spell in the Yamayug era, the fighting and killing became too much. The community elders were challenged to come up with some lasting solution for the problem. The Kob, holy men, and Kumayo, holy women, from every sub-clan were consulted and asked to engage in long sessions of Dabe, dream incubating, for Dab, a divine truth from Wak, the Cushitic sky god. Akumayo, a saintly woman named Bed, is the one who happened to come up with what seemed as the best solution for the conflict. Bed would be in the later generations be honored as the goddess of peace.
She is the bed in the phrase nabat and badbado. Bade nabat, oh bed, give us peace.
Myth true, the speechless nation and origin of Tukasho. Long, long ago, long before history hogs and thieves were layers of the wagon of truth, the shrouders of the civilization of the Kush, the kleptoparasites of the past and the vultures of our present times, learned to hoard and peculate people's bygones and past by the peak of their crooked pens and the muzzle of their pointed guns. I observed my Tuka bird croak. And mulling over it, I figured out the thing, thus took a leaf out of its croak and squawked after it.
Wak, wak, wak.
Though I now incantate in an alien tongue, I have proof of undisputable
Kadegasho.
for I call my ritual invocation Tukasho. Tukasho, imitating Tuka the bird, invoking as the Tuka invoked, praying to who Tuka prayed to.
Wak, Wakle, the god of Kakle.
My pre-Abrahamic Cushitic sky god.
Wakia became my faith. Wakoi became my land.
Tuka, my little Somali crow, the preserver of my antiquities. The shrouders could not shroud all of my blousy eld and past. For this little dry land avifona, for my history is in my rich tongue, and my destiny is in my Ganji mores of isolated Bedouin ways. As the entombed laws speculate, 4,000 years ago, we were a speechless nation, a nation in perpetual days, between Shelby's Cree Bowl and the turquoise sea of lacustrine haze. I mean, the jade Galan Bay of the Rendile or Galan Boy of the Gabra. There, we conceived a 7 days week
Kowat to Solap.
and a 12 months year,
To Kadalis to Samulat.
long before the pompous Abrahamites and our Cushitic brethren of ancient Egypt. But I am getting ahead of myself. Tuka again, the Somali crow, a raven-like eagle of heavy bill and raucous voice, though born under the jinxed Farai stars, a perching bird of mystique S, majestic flight and magical hover, the poise of the cow-craving bull, on whose horns the universe sits. Like the nation it is named after, it was a black bird of great plucks and trust, but jinxed by perpetual curiosity, and for which it lost its immaculacy. A wide-eyed, childlike bird which by trusting a pigeon shamming wool, lost its place in the welkin, the demonic owl that stole its elaborate pinion to snare and kill the sky god's flying squirrels. Thus the beguiler and the beguiled were both thrown out of the idol, down to the dusty dells of earth. Tuka, to typify the celestial Bale, and the owl, the wild Jafalile. Tuka then and Tuka now, a bird of flame and wits, of fixity and purpose, glide or sit. Despite the adversities it faces and the limitation it suffers, from every geographical front, Minacia's peregrine falcons to flee, lofty martial eagles to envy, bipedal expansion sure to bear, and in between that and this, jejune tenets by picky stalks, and wishy-washy pied crows to listen to or overhear, and some vapid warthogs dance to watch and cheer. Life sucks. To live requires plucks, for my sacred bird and I. The sky was shorn of clouds. The sun beat down her searing heat, scorching in her wrath, to assuage her sadistic Gilal urge. Out of sorts, out to scorch, the parching heat dried up the land. Trees have lost their leafy shade, and the speechless nation meet. Yet another day in the water well, the L, to water their camels, the source of their nameless life. And there came Tuka and perched on fork of a galol tree, hard by the well, and announced to a nation of camellias, a nation that perceived God without speech. It cried, and from that they picked the cue that work must be the name of God. Myth 3. A myth of the origin of clans among Somalis. After Work gave the people of Wakoi speech, he guided them to formulate laws to govern themselves. The laws divided people into 3 groups: Siwak, the priestly echelon; Jidwak, the martial echelon; and Dare, the common people. The citizens Siwak and Jidwak intermixed and neglected the commoners they were to look after. They intermingled, intermarried, and fraternized, with time shunning the Dare group for good. Blood became important to them, and lineages were formed and founded, hence clans. The pre-Islamic Somalis is the Somali term for religion. Means culture. The pre-Islamic Somalis practiced a complex monotheistic religion which revolved around a single, all-powerful god called Wak. According to one shared Cushitic myth, the equilibrium of the universe was based on love. Love between a pair of celestial bovines. The universe, according to this myth, was balanced on the horns of a bull in love. Yeah, a bull in love with a cow tied to a pole in front of him. The bull, it is said, timelessly staring at the cow. Wherever the cow turns her eyes away from him, the bull moves. And such physical shifts by the bull were believed to be the causes of the natural disasters experienced on earth. Wherever something disturbed the love and the beloved in the skies, disaster happens on earth. The ancient Somalis called the ritual prayers Tukasho and were performed in Nabo or Hero. Was the act of beseeching God. The priest was called Wadad. Wad, another attribute of work. Ad, expert. So Wadad meant an expert in the affairs of word. In that regard, there were also Garad, experts in Gar, the Somalis' term for justice, and Alad, expert in martial affairs. Kob, holy man, and Kumayu, holy woman, were seen as Ebe's confidants among people. Kob and Kumayo had the privilege of Garabdar, that is, divine and direct communication with work, and of prayers that were made with definite and immediate acceptance.
Ebe was another name for work. Wed Barre or Barle, the owner of livestock, Gulle, the victorious, Rone, the good, were among Ebe's names and attributes. According to the legend, Ebe lived in the sky and was the giver of bad food and bio water and bed peace.
Baal or Bale, wing or of wings, were the good spirits and angels and were represented on earth by crows, the most intelligent of all birds. And Subhanyo, the most harmless of snakes. Galeir, a small type of falcon known in Somali regions, was seen as a bearer of glad tidings. To date, the phrase Ur Ku Baale means something to the average Somali. It means one who has Baal in him or her, one who has an angel in him or her. More often than not, you'd hear a Somali shout, "How do you expect me to know your intentions? Do you think I'm a person with Baal in them?" In essence, what the phrase is, only a person who has Baal in or within him or her could foretell the hidden or the unknown. Jafalile, the ugly one, was the devil, represented by the Gumes owl and Abeso, Pafada. Had was the agent of Hadimo, death, and it came in the form of the large abode bird.
Nadhani mmepata historia yote yetu. Tumetoka kwa tuka, manake ni tuka na wak. Tuka then na tuka ya sasa hivi. Kwa hivyo tunaendelea na tuka ya sasa hivi na kwa sababu ya muda namkaribisha msemaji wetu wa Caroline atuambie 1, 2, 3 alafu tuwaulize maswali ndio tumalizane na huyu Mluo.
Hi, is it working? Yeah. I apologize for jumping the position in the panel. I'm leaving tonight to go to Comore for a mission for UNESCO, so that's why I have to leave, and I apologize for that. When I was invited to participate in this Somali Heritage Week on behalf of UNESCO, I was really honored to be part of it, and I was really looking forward to hearing what your questions would be, but also letting you know what we're hoping to do in our partnership with Somalia. So for those of you who don't know UNESCO, UNESCO is an agency of the United Nations, and it focuses on education, on culture, on science, on information, and communications. So through these different areas, UNESCO collaborates with different countries around the world. And in culture, the things that we focus on are really working with the national authorities on one hand, and also working with the people. And when UNESCO started, it was after World War II. It was after a lot of destruction happened, and people came together and said, we don't want this to happen again, especially to culture. And so in 1954, UNESCO came up with a document that worked to protect cultural heritage in times of conflict. Cultural heritage is such a part of people's identity. We can see that happening today. Look what's happening in Syria. So much of their identity is being destroyed through the conflict. We saw it in Afghanistan and Iraq. And it's very important for UNESCO to work with Somalia to protect the heritage that's there. So this 1954 convention, it focuses more on buildings and your libraries and your museums. But then there's another convention that UNESCO has created, all the different countries that make up UNESCO, that works with illicit trafficking. Illicit trafficking of cultural heritage. A lot of times these are art objects or archaeological objects that are stolen and taken out of the country. And when the heritage is taken out of your country and lost, it's part of your identity that's lost. And this is very important convention to make sure that the cultural objects that are part of our identity remain there and can be a means of communication to future generations. Then there's a convention that UNESCO came together to create called the World Heritage Convention. This convention looks at places around the world that are so important that if something happened to them, it would really be a loss to all humanity. The heritage is part of a country's heritage, but it goes beyond that, and we consider it world heritage. It could be cultural places, natural places, things made by man, things made by nature. Then a convention which this storytelling, before that, there's one more convention in 2001 that's about protecting underwater cultural heritage. Now with the coastline that you have and all of the shipwrecks and all of the history that these tell underwater, this is a very rich source of history of Somalia that's under the waves right now. So there's actually a convention that's working to protect that from groups who could loot it or take it away and lose these traces of history and identity. Then 2003, UNESCO came together and created a convention that looks at what we call intangible cultural heritage. Now today, a lot of what we've seen in this storytelling, in the dancing, in the food that was served, in the games that were played with the children, We saw the way that the traditional house was constructed. We saw the different instruments that are on display, all of the different artifacts and culture. These are part of Somali intangible cultural heritage. They're what make up your identity and who you are. And this convention works to safeguard the transmission of this knowledge. So I was really encouraged today to see so many young people here and all looking and learning and continuing this rich culture. And then the last convention that UNESCO has worked on was in 2005. And it's one that's quite exciting for youth. It's about creative diversity of creative expressions. And what it does is it tries to give a voice to different cultures through music, through dance, theater, poetry, literature, film. So through these creative industries, we call them, how Somalia can project its national identity, how it can give a voice, especially to youth who may want to express themselves, but it can also be a very powerful tool to show others who aren't familiar with Somali culture the richness that it offers, and it can give another face to the face that we see on the news every day that isn't at all what we saw today outside or up here on the stage. So I hope that wasn't boring, me going through this list of conventions, but they all have their unique kind of goal. And unfortunately, Somalia hasn't signed any of these yet. But I've been working with the different national authorities and trying to let them learn more about them and what would be the benefit. And there seems to be interest in some of these. And if this sounds interesting to you, then of course I encourage you to encourage your authorities to consider these. But what it does is it mobilizes the people in charge, the national authorities, to start protecting these various means of expression, and it gets the international community involved. So say Somalia decides to ratify the World Heritage Convention, and then there's maybe Las Gil, the rock art site, or you have a beautiful cathedral, Mogadishu, and it's crumbling and you're losing this trace of your history. Then everyone around the world would be mobilized to come together and help get the resources that would be necessary to preserve this. So it's really a way that we ensure that we don't lose these important traces of Somali identity and culture. Somalia, identity and culture. What, I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize.
When you say Somalia, you talk about the country.
Somali identity.
Somalia, you are talking about the country. I don't come from Somalia.
Somali identity.
Somali identity, yeah. That is where I come from. Sorry for my
mispronunciation. Yeah, no, I know the difference. So one of the things that we're doing at UNESCO, our office here in Kenya, is we're working with the European Union and with an NGO called CISP, an Italian NGO that's working a lot on cultural projects in Somalia. And we've created a group that's called Friends of Somali Culture Group. And we're bringing them together, people who could help impact the laws and the policies for heritage, people who could help raise the capacities of people to transmit and protect it, people who could get involved in education and outreach, as well as donors and partners. So we are bringing them together. We had the meeting planned for Mogadishu for the 10th of November, but because of the elections, we had to change the location to Nairobi. So now we're having it at our UNESCO headquarters, and we really hope that this will be the beginning of really helping to strengthen all these different actors who will bring together to help reinforce the culture and all the means of protecting it. So linking it with what we just saw in this video, I think with all of these stories, with all of this rich heritage that you have, it would really be advantageous to work with UNESCO to help protect this, ensure that all of this rich heritage and history is there for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a very interesting story. Before we continue with the panel, We want to honor our chief guest because he's traveling. We need to give him a chance to tell us the position of the government as well as his position as the majority leader to tell us more. The Honorable Member of Parliament for Garissa Township, Honorable Majority Leader, Honorable Duale. This is the Somali Cultural Week 2016. This is the second time we are holding, and the main organizers for this great event is our Jama Cultural Center, Heinrich Ball Foundation, and Northern Advocacy Organization. As we say as Somali community, we believe as a Somali community, my culture, my heritage, my language is the foundation of our identity as a Somali community. And the theme for this particular year is that it is talking about the change. As you know, as a community here in this country, we have faced a lot of challenges. Now we are trying to change the narrative that we Somalis are this and that. We have a lot of things to offer to the Kenyan community as well as to the rest of the world. That is why we came and formed Somality Heritage Week 2016. Without further ado, I would like to welcome the Honorable Member of Parliament for Wajir Township, Garissa Township, Honorable Duale. And we hope that we are going to continue from there. Karibu Mheshimiwa.
Good evening. I shall speak in Somali because it's Somali Cultural Week. But I think because we have other non-Somali speaking, and our constitution recognizes minorities. So minorities are well recognized in the Kenyan constitution. So those who don't speak the Somali language, then we will now be forced to speak a language that you understand. First, I want to thank our Jama Cultural Center, the donor community, the Northern Advocacy, Fardousa, Abdirizak, and all the great people who have this great man called Ina Osguru, comes from my constituency. So I had the opportunity to come and meet him. But today is Cultural Day. So don't worry, I'm not going to talk about politics. I'm going to Kiambu for a huge rally, so here is culture. But if you want to speak, if you want culture, I can hold for you. Okay, thank you. People wonder, and the first time I joined politics, I have never gone to Djibouti, I've never gone to Ethiopia, I have never gone to Somalia. So I went to Djibouti, and that time I was a minister, a deputy minister. So, and I was attending a conference at Djibouti, Kempiski. So when I landed at the airport, and I had a Kenyan diplomatic passport, the immigration Somali at Djibouti airport talked to me in Somali and asked me, are you the Minister for Livestock of Somalia? And then I was shocked. I was shocked because I didn't know what's wrong with this guy. I'm representing Kenya here, and he's asking me whether I'm the Minister for Somalia. Then I went and read that we are in Ethiopia, we are in Somalia, we are in Djibouti, and we are in Kenya. And the second time, I also faced a serious cultural crisis. It was when my 6-year-old son, I spoke to him in Somali and asked him, can you move a bit? And instead of moving, he moved closer to me. So he didn't understand the language. So I told him in Somali, Abu Hasa Utruk, Ugusa. So I said there must be a serious, and I had to look for a teacher from Isili to come and teach my 6-year-old kid my language. Today my sons, they speak and write very fluent Somali. We have been given the history of the Somali, how we came, that I need to read and see, because it's a very, very good history. Because up to today, I do know the origin of the Somali. I do know. Some they tell us you are part of the Arab community. Some they tell us, but you must look at yourself. If you look at the Ethiopians, you look at the Sudanese, particularly the north, you look at the Eritreans, and you look at the Somalis, we have a similar features. Our music, our dress, our physical feature, our languages have some similarities. That tells you we came from a certain region. If you go to Marsabit County and you see the Gabras, definitely you'll say there's a time the Gabras were part of the Somali community. But you need to know at what stage did they leave us or we left them. So I think this group has done something very, very great. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, even 30 years ago, we had a serious identity crisis as a Somali in this country. The Kenyan communities did not accepted our integration. Of course, politically, our forefathers in the 60s, in the 50s, in the hope of the greater Somalia, they decided also not to join Kenya. So they started, I'm sure you've heard about the shifter war, the secession politics. So the first Kenyan government under the late President Kenyatta was seeing the Somali as secessionist. Because our great leaders then wanted to form one big Somalia, from Ethiopia to Djibouti to Somalia to Kenya. But later years, in the 70s, those of us who were going to school, 75, 80, the identity crisis for the Somalis in Kenya was a serious issue. But now what happened? In the 80s, and what I tell the Somalis in Ethiopia, in the 80s and 90s, we decided now as a community to virtually integrate with the rest of the Kenyan communities. And I'm sure the fruits of that serious integration, we said history is history, let us be Kenyans, let us be part of the other 41 communities in our country. And because I read history, that integration is what has made a Somali lady to be the Kenyan foreign minister. That integration is what has made Honorable Duale to be the leader of majority, the first leader of majority. That integration is that gave us 3 counties, with over 30 billion, with 3 governors. That integration is what has given us today over 32 members of parliament, both in the National Assembly, in the Senate. That you find us today in the public service, you find us in the private sector, you find our people doing all types of business, from energy to petroleum to commodity to all the restaurants you see in Nairobi downtown. So the integration has paid. But our identity, our culture is the one that which we have not done it. Our Somali dress has disappeared. Our Somali language is disappearing in the urban centers. When I attend weddings and I see our girls, the bride, being, in the Western dress, that I say now, yeah, we are going wrong. And I see the beauty of my wife, let me go home, when she's in the Guntino. And I'm telling you, people don't know the beauty of a Somali woman is not in the buibuyu. It is in the Guntino. Of course, again, we have to balance between our obligation to Islam. Very, very, I really believe in that. But at the same time, we must also believe in the culture. How do we shape and define and sustain for generations to come the Somali identity? Somali identity can be sustained through culture, songs, poets, mama, you know, all this, through our dress, through our language, through the food we cook. You know, you should go for Somali food than, you know, going for a pizza, unless it's very, very necessary. Through, you know, our languages, we must teach our children that language. So I think this is a great thing. I always document, you know, I tell my colleagues and my community when they come to me in the office, I tell them, do not lament. waxaad dib u fiirisiin taariikhda iyo historyga Soomaalida Kenya. waqti baan la dhihi jiray waxaad tihiin shifta. Nairobi maana joogin, meelaha waqooyi bari baan joogi jiray. iyo hadda meeshii aan soo gaarnay, you know, alxamdulillah, ilaahay mahad leh. Laakiin maan soo gaarnay. You know, communities should use history to shape the future. We don't use history to lament. Yes, we went through a lot of historical injustices. Today we face a slight bit of discrimination because, you know, when you ask, where is your ID card? The person asking you cannot differentiate between the Somali from Djibouti, Somali from Ethiopia, Somali from Somalia, Somali from Kenya. It is us who have the nomadic lifestyle who have no boundaries. We walk, you know, you did say it. I read a lot Nurdin Farah's literature books. And one of the things Nurdin Farah says, one of the top Somali scholars, he says the boundary of a Somali pastoralist ends where the camel turns back because of the environment. So we move with the camel if the camel comes to a very harsh environment, like that of Mount Kenya, on top of Mount Kenya. Then the camel backs, that's where we put our beacon. So we say everywhere in the whole of Africa is ours. As long as the, as long as the camel can survive. So I think today is a good day. I tell people that I went to a meeting and, you know, I was shocked because there was a panelist and I was sitting there representing Kenya. There was a speaker of Somalia, Professor Jawari. There was a speaker of Djibouti. And there was a deputy speaker of the Ethiopian parliament. So I asked those guys, what's going on here? I told them, it is a Somali affair. But 5 of us were coming from different countries. I was representing Kenya, the Somali speaker, the deputy speaker of Ethiopia, and the speaker of Djibouti. It's something we can be proud of. And I'm sure today you have done something very, very great. It's my constituency that I have built the biggest Somali cultural center. And you know, Garissa is not very far. It's about 3.5 hours drive from Nairobi. And the road is tarmacked. And this power. Now the national grid has reached there. It's tarmacked, street lights. It has the best five-star, 7-star hotels. I really want to ask the organizers that next year, unfortunately next year, you know, is the election year in Kenya. So I don't know whether I'll be there. But next year, I think we should do the cultural week, Somali Cultural Week in Garissa. And I promise I will be I'll be the big sponsor. I'll talk to all the top Somali professionals. Today, and I want to tell the young ones, the sky is the limit. I head the legislature. I'm in charge of parliament, Somali. Today, we have a Somali in the highest court, the Supreme Court, where only 7 people sit. We have a judge by the name Muhammad Ibrahim. So we are represented in the judiciary. In the Court of Appeal, we have Judge Muhammad Warsame. You know? So we are in parliament, we are in the judiciary. When you come to government, you have our great sister Amina Mohammed. And now we want to promote her. We want her to be in charge of Africa, become the chair of African Union. When you see Aden Mohammed, the Minister for Trade, is one of the best ministers. If you look at the financial sector, because of our Islamic nature, we have Islamic banks run by Somali CEOs. We are in the insurance. We're the first community to introduce Islamic-based insurance called the Takaful. So I think we look at the good thing, and I am sure the panelists, Lorano Kalu, I can tell you have tried. That point of view, I can give you C+. Next time, I'm sure you'll get a B+, because you tried very well. I'm sure I want to thank the colleague from UNESCO. Last week, UNESCO hosted the Kenyan Week in Paris, where the Deputy President was the chief guest. Our friend from Migori, all of you here, thank you very much. We are proud. I am one person who's proud of the Somali culture, Somali community, Somali identity, because waxaa la yiri Soomaalida waxay dhaheen waxaa la yiri kabatule kabiisa la fiiriya kabatule kabiisa waqtigii hore zamani tukaan kaba laga ma gadan jirin ina meel fadhiya kabuu tori jirin marka hadaad rabto kaba qurax badan fiican kabiisaad fiirin hadii kabiisa ay fiicnayn waa iska dhaafi kula raadsan marka waxaa la rabaa haddaan nahay ummadda Soomaalida inaan isku duubnaano unity-ga dhibaatooyinka faraha badan aan marayno waxaa weeye wadankii Soomaaliya burburay. The collapse of Somali systems had a very big impact on our culture, on our identity. Because when you go out, when you go to Minnesota, go to Europe, we are the most visible community in Europe, in the diaspora, everywhere in the world, even in South Africa, that has maintained its identity, its culture, its religion, its dress. So anywhere you go, in the US, in Europe, you'll find when you walk in the best part of the world, you'll find our people. They have not gone there to kill our culture, they have maintained our culture. Thank you very much. God bless you all. So the weather, Somalia hanoracho.
Mheshimiwa, nataka nimsindikize. I speak for all the artists, and Lolani Kalu included. We campaigned for you the last time. And I want to remind, I said I'm speaking for the artists, specifically those in Kenya National Theatre area. And there was a SAR I made in 2013, before March. And there was a phrase that, a stanza. Anigusan maganahay qofkan sawdkayga siin waa inuu leeyahay sifiyo socnaan saadaal san loo si gaar aan ugu qancee sidaas maad wada fashaan. I think we had you in mind when we were making that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us appreciate the Mheshimiwa for coming, and we're going to continue. Let us appreciate the Mheshimiwa very well. Thank you very much. Lonani Kali will continue with the panel discussion. Thank you.
Aya, asante. Aya, asanteni. Tunaendelea na kikao chetu. Mnaweza kutuuliza maswali wakati wote, na kumbukeni kwamba mnaweza kuuliza maswali hayo kwa Kisomali, Kiingereza, Kiswahili na Kigiriama na Kijaluo. Kwa sasa namkaribisha msemaji wangu aendelee na identity ya Msomali.
Nadhani nina bahati mbaya, manake nimepata microphone ama nimepata kipaza sauti wakati wanasemaga mdosi, sio? Wakati mdosi anatoka. Nadhani tutatulia ili tuendelee kufaidika. Nadhani sote tunajua ya kuwa mnataka niongee Kiswahili, Kizungu, Kisomali, Kijaluo. Mnataka lugha gani? Kijaluo? Wangapi wanataka niongee Kijaluo? Sasa demokrasia hiyo. Nani ako na mic huko nje? Nauliza, kuna mtu yote anaongea Kijaluo hapa? Ainue mkono. Kuna Mjaluo hapa? Asante bwana. Mpe huyo. Omera? Nade?
Berainya.
Ijakanye?
Aja Ugenya.
Jakanye?
Ugenya.
Ugenya.
Yes.
Manober.
Erokamano.
Aja suna, inge suna?
Yes, Suna Migori.
Isa chopo kuno?
Yes, Asechopos.
Isa chopo?
Asechopo Suna New South Nyanza.
Okay. Sasa nataka ili muamini. Mnaweza dhani pengine naongea Kijerumani, sio? Waelezee nimekuambia nini?
Labda kwa Kizungu kwa sababu ama kwa Kiswahili. Sielewi Kisomali.
Hakuna shida. Lakini mimi Msomali, sawa?
Kweli.
Kijaluo ni lugha yako ya mama?
Kweli sana.
Mimi naongea lugha yako ya mama.
Nimefurahi.
Nauliza hivi. Wewe unaweza ongea neno lolote la Kisomali?
Siko sure.
Hauko sure? Asante sana.
Karibu.
Sasa nadhani tumekuja kuongea kuhusu Wasomali, sio? Sasa mimi kuongea Kijaluo inawaonyesha ya kuwa Wasomali wako kila mahali, sio? Mimi nimezaliwa Migori. Migori, mbunge wangu sasa ni Msomali. Nadhani mnamuonaga kwa television, Mheshimiwa Junet. Najua ningetaka kusema Mheshimiwa Duale akiwa hapa, manake najua wao ni petroli na moto. Kwa wale wanaelewa siasa ya Kenya. Si mnaelewa? Lakini muhimu ni kuwa Wasomali, na kabla sijaendelea ningependa sana kumshukuru Abdirashid. Abdirashid, kwa wale hawamjui, ni Msomali Mkenya wa kwanza poet, the first Somali Kenyan poet who has come to the national level. Labda kuna wengine hawajajitokeza, lakini ni wa kwanza. Sisi wa Somali wa Kenya, kuna neno lilikuwa linatusumbua sana, ambao mandugu zetu kutoka Somalia walikuwa wanapenda sana kila saa kutumia. Neno sijui. Mshasikia Somali sijui? Sasa wakati huyu bwana Abdirashid alipotojitokeza, when Abdirashid became the first Somali Kenyan poet, he saved us. Because that word sijui, we buried that day. So now we have joined the mainstream Somali, intellectuals, especially on language. Yeah, so I think the most important thing is the presentation we saw discussed or showed you or told you about the Somalis, the Somalis' history. Mheshimiwa Duale spoke about the Somali of now. Somalis in Kenya now, where are we? Okay? As he mentioned, he forgot, I think, to mention also that we have, for the first time, a Somali member of parliament in Nairobi. Kamukunji, member of parliament, Yusuf Hassan. He's a Somali. He's the first Somali MP to be, elected in Nairobi, the capital city. And that itself is something to be proud of. I think the other thing that we can be proud of, where I come from in Migori, the member of parliament is a Somali, Junet Mohammed. Junet was elected by Luos, Migori, and it's Luos who are the most voters there. But they elected him not because he's handsome. No, they elected him because he can represent them, and because he bet the others, and that in itself is something that we can be proud of. I think I don't want to keep you for long because I understand we might have questions. I'll give back the mic to Lolado.
Asante sana. Nafikiri kwa kumalizia, manake sasa muda ndio hivyo na tupa kisogo muda tuliopewa, ningependa kumuita Abdurrashid atueleze kwa ufupi sana poetry yake hii na maana halisi ya ku-identify Msomali kwa sasa na yale ambayo yametuleta hapa. Alafu atasema kwa muda mfupi sana, kisha tutawapa nafasi ya maswali ambayo mnaweza kuwauliza kwa haraka haraka ili tumalizie.
And on what we were talking about here, the piece that we showed there, the idea is we are confused nation. Confused in the sense that when you don't have history, when you don't have myth that explain where you came from, you will be confused. You will end up looking like everybody else. So the point of the research we did and all this was to make sure that we know where we belong, then we know where we are going. From there we know where we're going. Somalis, we have a very rich language. A language that for a social anthropologist, it is enough to show him the kind of religion we used to keep before Islam. And the reason why we accepted Islam completely as a group was, and in the Waqiyah, in the religion that was there before Islam, was Waqoi was always the right side, Miyik according to the Rendille, Midik according to the Somalis. When you are facing Bahai and Bari, when the person who leads the prayer in the Nabo or Hero faces the sun, the one who is praying faces Buh ama Bahai, where the sun goes, the west. Then the right hand of the one who is led in the prayer, the congregation, that is where God was, the right hand of where it was. Then Islam came from that direction, and Somalis accepted it wholesome. The reason was that was where they were expecting God to come from in the first place. And that is the Waqiyah religion. People used to pray 4 times. Up to now, the Rendille do it. Rendille do it is 4 times. When the camel is leaving in the morning, after an hour or 2 hours after it left for pasture, then in the evening when it's about to come back, what they ask for is, oh God, return our camel in peace. Then when the camel comes back, that is. And when you look at Islam, then you look at the religion the Somali or the Cushitic people practiced before Islam, they are so similar. There was only one God. They prayed 4 times, and you can tell the rest. And it came from the direction where they were expecting it to come from. That is why we accepted Islam. Many of these things can, even when you go back to our language as a language, you realize that it contains most of these things. When you talk about Tukasho, Tukasho comes from Tuke. Tukasho comes from Tuka. What the Tuka does? Tuka is the Somali crow, the most intelligent of birds. It is called the dwarf raven. That is the scientific name for it. And it can count to 7. And according to an old man, a Gabriel old man I met last December, he was telling me that is where we picked the 7 days week. And we were almost among the first nations, the Cushitic nation, those that were put 7 days week, calculated their calendar from 7 days week. That is why when Islam came, The Quran is 30 juz. 30 juz, 30 sections. But to the Somali, it is 7. He divided it into 7. Juz arba'a, juz khamis, juz, he divided it, not suba Somali. He divided it into the 7 days. That is why 7 is so important to our Somali. And it says the crow, our sacred bird, can count up to 7. So these are the things that you need to look for. And there's no honor in trying to make all our grandfathers go to paradise or the Islamic paradise that you want. If they lived before Islam, they lived before Islam. We should not look for roots that we don't have. Our roots are here. Our origin is Turkana, Galambay, Galamboy, Galambai. And Lolani was telling you, the Giryama came from Gondar in Ethiopia. They came along the sea. We met at somewhere called Shungwaya. Shungwaya is Afmedu. Afmedu is in Juba. And at Afmedu there is a well called Fangai. The other well for that, it is in Vanga, between Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania. The two places, the funny thing I found is, I went there and there, the funny thing I found was the word they use like aga. The Swahili will say aka when he is confused about something. The guy there will say aga, so it's GK. And there's a lot of things they share in the language itself, the Swahili and the Somali, the Mijikenda and the Somali. So we should know our roots is here, are here, we come from here, we belong here, and this is our country. Thank you.
Asante sana kwa maelezo hayo. Nadhani mwisho kabisa ni maswali. Maanake kama kuna mtu yote ana swali ama watu wana maswali kabla hatujaondoka, mnaweza kupewa kipaza sauti. Haya. Tuambia jina lako kwanza na umetoka wapi, alafu swali lako unalielekeza kwa nani?
My name is Abdullah Ibrahim. My name is Abdullah Ibrahim. My name is Abdullah Ibrahim. I'm a student. I'm confused a little bit about what you call in history in the school. I learned that we used to call the god Ebe. We used to call Wak. Where does it come from? The Ebe, the word Ebe.
Okay, neno embe limetoka ebe, limetoka wapi? Sio embe, ebe.
Ebe is like that was we are saying this was a nation. Listen, the myth is like this. Somalis were a nation that perceived God without speech. They did not speak. There are people who don't speak. They did not have a language. Then what happened? They realized they could not communicate among themselves. Then they looked at Tuka. They saw it, the Somali crow, when it's doing its things, raises the head up to the skies. So they thought this very brilliant bird must be talking about God. Then they did, in the night after they returned the camel to the homesteads, they started calling this God. Wak, 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 wak. They cannot say any other thing. They don't have a language. And myths are not supposed to be explained. Myths are just like that. They are as confusing as dreams. So they said they said that wak for and milay. Milay, who knows what milay is in Somali? Milay is now used in Djibouti or in Wamo, in Jorre, the two ends. Milay is time, the time you eat food. For close to 8,000 milay of doing that, shouting, work, asking for him to guide them. The next night they woke up, all of them, inspired with language. The language was monosyllabus. Monosyllabus, the hal, nin, lah, one, those words now. And the words with one syllabus and two. So that was the language that was inspired. Among the words, there was dah, which is say. Now we say it deh. Originally it came as dah. Then in the morning they know dah what it means. It means say. Then one meets the other, he tells the other one, because we were asking for this language for so long, now it came, everyone is telling the other, deh, ama dah wak. Now we have it as a word, it's called dawak. You know dawak, what dawak means? It means shouting, right? But originally it was dah wak, say wak. It was the greeting, the first greeting, and the first way of thanking anything in the Somali language. That is according to the myth. Then, from there, the language developed. I think now, this Ebe is a name for God that came later. But the original word was Wak, Ebe, and for example, Abai, Abu, Abe, when you look at them as word, all of them, they imply respect, right? The Oromo call the river, the Omo River, they call it Abai. They call it River Abai, which means it's respect. As somebody feminine that deserves respect from you. So I think the name is just around, but according to, it's not in that myth. I think it came later when the language came from monosyllabus to an multisyllabus kind of language. I hope I answered your question.
Kuna swali jingine? Okay, ya mwisho I think. Kutoka kule nyuma naona mkono. Kuna swali hapo.
Kwa majina naitwa Jabir Hassan. Ningependa kukuuliza ya kwamba ulisema Wasomali walikuwa wanasali sala 4 kabla Uislamu ufike. Na kabla Uislamu ufike, ningependa unifafanulia ya kwanza walikuwa na dini gani ama walikuwa wanaabudu dini gani sasa?
It was the religion, the Waqiya religion now. And we were just explaining how it came about. The Somali looked at the crow. It thought it was an intelligent bird. And so, according to that myth, and God, in the Abrahamic religion, we talk about God chasing humans, Adam and Eve, out of the paradise. But in the Waqiya religion, it talks about 2 things. 2 birds were chased from the skies. They were the tuka for its what we call innocence. You know, innocence can sometimes be a problem. Tuka for its innocence, and the owl, gumeis, you know it. The owl for mischief. Those were the 2 birds. Now here we said, and the tuka represented what we call Baale or Baal. That was the angels. Some people now think that the ancient name for angels in Somali was Ayanle. No, Ayan is an Arabic word. Ayanle is the one with Awale Okole. Like, it's a later word that came later, a word that came later, but the original word was Baal, Bale. So, and the religion was Waqiya. And the idea was gotten from a crow from the first place. Then from there was Qob and Kumayo, who were the communicators from people who communicate on behalf of God. They talk to. Right now, Kumayo is a bad word, right? What does Kumayo mean right now? Kumayo means somebody who's. What does it mean? Somebody who, if he sees you eating food, and you don't share it with him or her, and what will happen? Okay? So that is, I think, but initially it was a holy woman. The opposite is Qob. Qob of Somali, marka fasira waxa leedahay waa nin ay ducadiisa kacdo. Qumayana waa gabar ay ducadeeda kacdo. The same thing. So kacdo means la accept gareyo. Their prayers are accepted. So the religion was Waqiya, and that is the way it came. The whole thing is myth, and in the world we don't explain myth. But the funny thing is, they are more potent than the written history. Myth is stronger in any way. It explains things in a human way, not in a factual ways, no, in a human way. And it does better for the mind. Nations are built on their myth, not on the history. Thank you.
Haya, kuna swali la mwisho pengine? Ama yamekwisha maswali? Kuna mtu hapo? Aha. Kuna binti hapo nasikia. Okay.
ilama hataas qumayo waxa aan ku tusaaleyn karaa waa qof indhihiisu gaajaysan yihiin ama qof wax aan haysanin qof kale wax uu haysto ku caawiyay ama ku ileeyay taasaan ku tusaaleyn karaa kelmadda qumayo
waxay ku xiran tahay waa qof Ilaahay wax ka aqbalay indhaha ana saan qumayo ama qof ahaan wax fiiriyo waxa ma dhacayaan Soomaa qofta haday qumayo tahay wax sameeyay yahay wax ka aqbalay yahay Ilaahay Soomaa dabcan marka waxay ku xiran tahay qofka qumayo caay baa laga dhigay laakiin caay maaha waa qof Ilaahay ducadeeda aqbalay okay way damaceeda aqbalay
Haya, asanteni sana basi nafikiri ni kumalizia.
I hope the youth or the youngsters who have attended this session have picked something from this discussion. Me, as a Somali Kenyan who has grown and raised in Kenya, I am sure you've also gone through this. We always get these, sentiments from our other brothers that wewe Somali, enda Somalia. I think it's a common word we always get. Wewe Somali, rudi Somalia. Whenever you go into a fight or you quarrel with a non-Somali Kenyan, the first weapon they will always draw against you is that wewe Somali, enda Somalia. But I think from what was presented here, you have enough ammunition to tell whoever comes with this phrase again that, hey, sorry, I actually came in Kenya before you came. Somalis were here before the other, Bantus and Nilotes came to Kenya, as was, shown here. So I think the whole purpose was to define and to remind the Somali Kenyans that you are Kenyans not by default. No, you are Kenyans because you belong here.
Asanteni sana, nafikiri tumemaliza kikao chetu. Tunashukuru kwa kutupa masikio na kusikiza, na tuna matumaini kwamba kimekuwa kwa manufaa kwa wiki hii ambayo ni muhimu sana ya kucelebrate cultures zetu na kujua sisi tumetoka wapi. Asanteni sana.